Hi guys, today we're going to learn how to make pho. It's traditionally Vietnamese and one of my favorite things to eat and cook. We're doing a little bit of a healthy twist to it. We're using two non-traditional ingredients, one being chicken and the other one fennel as a garnish. That's the fun of being in the kitchen. You can take a recipe as a guideline and actually make it your own and play around with it. So hopefully you learn something and you enjoy. The ingredients that we'll need are one chicken, which is cut here in 8 ways. You see the 2 chicken breasts, 2 thighs, 2 drumsticks, 2 wings. I have about a pound of rice sticks, noodles. I have a fennel. I have 1 medium onion. I have about 4 inches of ginger. Then I have, for garnish, I have bean sprouts, green onions, lime, and cilantro. In my spices there I have 3 tablespoons of coriander seeds, and I have 3 tablespoons of fennel seeds, 1 tablespoon of cloves, whole cloves. I have 2 sticks of cinnamon and about a tablespoon, no, not a tablespoon, maybe about 8 pieces of Star of Anise, and this is what it looks like here. And they're all broken up. So this is for the pho. Okay, so here I took my medium onion and my 4 inches of ginger and I split them down the middle, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to char them on a saute pan. Okay, here I have in 2 separate saute pans, I have my spices toasting, and I have my medium onion and my ginger. In a hot saute pan, I'm going to sear off the chicken, which I've slightly seasoned with salt, black pepper, and garlic powder. And we're going to do skin side down. So we're going to sear this off. You don't want to overwhelm the pan. You want it to be one layer, so that you could cook this evenly. Okay, so here's our seared chicken, which is still with the bone in, because when you make a broth or a stew, or anytime you use protein, you're going to want to use the bone that gives extra flavor and extra body to whatever broth or stew you're making. We have our seared off onion and ginger and our toasted spices. So now here I have about 7 quarts of cold water, which I'm going to add my chicken to. And I'm using cold water because I want to bring it up to a boil, then a simmer, and I want the food to come up in the heat with that. So I'm adding my chicken. Okay, once I've put in my chicken, I'm going to add my spices and my onion and ginger. So we're going to have the seared off onion and the ginger. And I also in my hand have the spices, which I put in some cheesecloth. And the reason I did that was the seeds are really small to take out one at a time. When you eat the broth or the soup, you don't want to bite into any of the actual seeds or cloves. So using cheesecloth, you trap them all and you get all of the flavor, and you don't have to go through the hassle of actually taking it out. And it's really easy to just dump it in and take it out whenever you're finished. While you're cooking, you're going to notice that there's a little bit of foam that comes up, and that's just the impurities from the chicken coming up. So every once in a while you're going to want to skim it off the top, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a ladle and just take it all off. And you're going to see this periodically, so you're going to have to actually go in here every couple minutes and try and take it off. You want to have a clear broth, as clear as possible, so you don't want any of this. And that's just garbage, you could toss it. Once your pot has came to a nice roaring boil, you're going to want to lower it to about medium to low heat and let it simmer for at least 3 hours. Okay, to your simmering broth, you're going to add 1/3 cup of fish sauce and 3 tablespoons of sugar. You could use regular sugar, which I'm using now, but you could use also rock sugar or palm sugar. But I have neither, so I'll be using regular granulated sugar. And the fish sauce is for the salty factor, and the sugars for the sweetness. We're going to cook the noodles, and what I have here is a simmering pot of water, the rice noodles, and I have a strainer which I'm going to use to hold the noodles together or to fish them out. Take a portion, and you're going to have different size portions per bowl. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the portion for one bowl here, which is about a handful, depending on how big your bowl is. And we're going to go ahead and put it in the water, into the strainer, into the water for about 30 to 45 seconds. And we're going to, okay, so now that I have all the components ready, we're going to plate. So I have my rice noodles in my bowl, and we're going to ladle in the broth, which you let simmer for at least 3 hours. And the more you simmer, the more flavor it gets, and the darker the color becomes. The color comes from the onion and the ginger and the spices that we toasted earlier. And that way you don't have to use any processed coloring agents or pastes or anything like that. And so that makes it a little bit healthier than your traditional pho. So there's our plate, and to this I'm going to add pieces of the chicken. Usually you would add either beef meatballs, pieces of tendon, thin slices of beef cuts like sirloin or something like that, but we're using chicken, so and there's the different cuts of the chicken in there, so you could have chicken breast pieces or drumsticks, whatever you prefer. Some people don't like dark meat. And we're going to garnish with some cilantro and bean sprouts, which I had in a ice bath to keep the crunch. So we're adding the bean sprouts, and one thing that the traditional pho doesn't have, I have here thinly sliced fennel, and it's all related in the flavor profile. The Star of Anise, the fennel seeds, and the fennel, they all have a similar taste, so I thought it'd be fun to add that into the mix. So a little bit extra crunch and a little bit extra flavor. And some green onions. And more cilantro. I love cilantro, so we're going to do that. And you could add lime juice, fish sauce, any other condiments that you would like, hot sauce, anything like that. So, our finished product.